I'm Allison Arngrim, and this is the Allison Arngrim Show. And here on the Allison Arngrim Show, well, some of you may know me as evil Nellie Olson, but tonight, thankfully, I am in fact Allison Arngrim. And as you know on the Allison Arngrim Show, we talk about things that make you feel good. The movies and the TV shows that made us feel good and the people who made them, and people who are doing things now to make the world a better and more interesting place. And have I got a live one tonight? I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So, the fabulous Harlan, my fabulous publicist Harlan, who has all the best people, sent me, a bunch of whole series of emails. I have this person, I have this person. I was like, whoa, yes. All right. Have you ever wanted to be a Rockette? I wanted to be a Rockette, except one, I'm really short and I can't dance. But the tall women who can dance are Rockettes, and they're amazing. The Rockettes in New York, the kick. Well, um, I would tell you this, and you're going to say, oh, this was a long time ago, especially a long time ago. The fabulous woman is coming on as a dancer, actress, writer, you name it. She does it. And she was the first African American Rockette. And you say, what did that, 1968, 1972? No, it was the 1980s. It was the 80s, 1987. What? Yes, because it was a policy. No, not an oversight, an actual policy. Yippers. But you have to talk to my guest. She is fabulous. The fabulous Jennifer Jones.
Hi, Allison. Thank you for
Hi.
having me on.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for coming. Yes, so you even have a book, Becoming Spectacular. I cannot think of a better title.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I wanted Becoming Spectacular simply because, of course, the Christmas spectacular, but I believe every person in this world is a diamond coming to light, and we are
Mm,
all becoming spectacular. Spectacular.
I try. I think
You
you are
are.
spectacular. So I have to tell, this is mind blowing to a lot of young people where we take things for granted that all these terrible things we heard about happened so long ago, but no, the 80s isn't that long ago. You wanted to be a Rockette. You had danced before, obviously. Look at you. Y- y- and they said no because there were no African American, no black Rockettes, no Rockettes of any color because.
Right. There was a long-standing policy.
Yes.
So, just the basic background of the history of the Rockettes. They were founded in 1925
Right.
by a man named Russell Market in St. Louis, Missouri. And in 1925, Black performers were not allowed to dance on stage as white performers. That was just
Oh,
the norm.
1925 in many parts of the country, people weren't allowed in the same bathrooms
Right,
drinking. You couldn't go anyway. Segregation was taking place.
right.
It was 1925. Yeah, okay, yes.
Yes, yes. So, moving through, the history of the Rockettes, you would think maybe in the 1960s, there would be a black dancer who could be a Rockette, but his vision of the Rockettes was to have a line of ladies who could do intricate tap steps and do high kicks at the end, and he would just wow the American people's socks off. And he did.
They
And
did.
his
They
vision,
did.
yes, and his vision to have all of these ladies dancing on the stage look like one dancer. So his thought was to have a black dancer on the line. It would pull from the uniformity, which is the hallmark of the Rockettes.
They're to be
So,
identical.
yes. And there are stories from when I came on, ladies on the line, that they weren't even allowed to get suntanned. And if they
Yes.
did, they would pat down their legs in pancake makeup so they could perform in that show.
I
S-
found a horrifying quote that yeah, because I mean, okay, this guy, he was in 19, he was doing business in 1925. His mind was in the 1800s. So he was saying, no, 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 we can't have anyone of any other color. Of course not. They have to be perfect. They have to move as one unit. And they forbade suntanning, apparently, quote, because it would make her look like a colored girl.
yes,
He
yes,
actually said this. Okay. See, today we go, what? No, what? That, yes,
exactly.
this is where people's heads were at.
Yes. And so when I came onto the line in 1987, Russell was still alive, but he had retired and he had passed down the line to Violet Holmes, who had worked and danced for him for many, many years.
A former
And there was,
Rockette had taken over the
yes,
reins. Oh, well,
yes,
that's different.
yes.
Okay.
So there was still that antiquated thought process about having a black woman on the line. And I think the Rockettes were losing sales, the Christmas show,
Mm.
and it was the weight of Hazel N. Dukes, working from NAACP, knocking at Radio City's door, saying you are not an equal opportunity employer. And I think that was the time that they decided that we need to integrate the line.
Time to get the show on the road. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
finally. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think I first saw the Rockettes when I was like 15 in the 70s. So yeah, it was, but
Oh,
that's the thing.
yeah.
It was becoming kitsch. People are going, oh, ha ha ha, let's go see the Rockettes, the Easter show. It's so funny. And
Right,
that was a problem because that's not what you want. You don't want people seeing it
right.
ironically. You want it to be a real show. And I think they finally caught on that it was time to get with the times.
Right, especially under the backdrop of New York City,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
would think that they would have been progressive enough. So it just did take that long, unfortunately.
Wow. So how big a deal was it? I mean, you beat out hundreds, literally hundreds of women at the audition. And the audition process itself, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a whole thing. People do not have any idea what I'm terrified at the thought of auditioning to be a rocket.
Yes.
What on earth was this like?
Well, my parents were avid Broadway goers when I was growing up. So I wanted to be on the Broadway stage. They took my sister and I to see The Wiz five
Hmm.
times with the powerhouses of Stephanie Mills and Mabel King and Hinton Battle. So when I turned 19, I wanted to dance on Broadway. We were going through auditions, my friends and I, at Broadway Dance Center. There was a publication that came out every Thursday. I was looking for my big Broadway break, and there was an audition for the Rockettes. And my friend said, you should go to this audition, Jennifer. You would make a perfect Rockette. I said, I don't
How tall
know,
are you?
5'8.5".
Oh, that's pretty good. That's tall.
That's tall enough. So I woke up the morning of to go to the audition. I didn't know who the Rockettes were. I didn't know what,
No, you didn't.
yeah.
Oh no.
I purely went to shake the nerves of auditioning. I was always intimidated, learning the ropes of the business. I was very green. So I just went to get better at auditioning. I didn't even know the history of, I knew nothing about the Rockettes.
You just went, I'm going to go. It's a dance audition. I go to dance auditions. That's what I do. I'm a
Yes.
dancer in Broadway. That's a,
Yes. So when I arrived to the music hall, it was 10 o'clock. The audition started at 10, and the music hall was draped with the most beautiful ladies I had ever seen. They knew how to do their makeup, they knew what audition clothes to wear. Every hair was in place. And I got at the back of the line and I thought, they are never going to pick me. And I thought about leaving so many times. And just as I was about to step off the line and go take my favorite jazz class, my inner voice pushed me back into the line and said, stay. So I stayed. And if I did not stay on that line, I never would have made it to the Rockette line.
and that's the thing. We get in these situations where like, I don't know. And it's like, no, do it, do it, do it. I can't tell you how many things have happened, jobs I've gotten, shows that got created because I went to something I didn't think was going to go anywhere. I went to a talk show. I think it only aired in two cities, but I met a I met this woman who's a director in the waiting room, and the next thing I know, and so I go to things where I don't know if I should go to this, and then I go and
Yeah.
I meet someone, and something happens, and the next thing. So yes, the little voice, it's the little voice, that little voice.
Yes. Yes, it'll never steer you wrong. And even when I got into the audition room and when I was warming up, I was still very nervous. I was way out of my comfort zone. I was very intimidated. It looked like every dancer in there was a better dancer than I was. And I wasn't even prepared. So I did not have my picture and resume. I didn't have my
No.
tap shoes. I was not prepared. And so I'm taking mental notes as a 19-year-old of
Very
how to
nice.
get better for my big Broadway break. And after I did the height requirement and after the tap portion and a jazz portion, and they were casting for the Super Bowl 22 halftime show as
Whoa.
well as the Cheetah Rivera Can Can tour, we had to do jump splits and can kicks, as well as the Rockette iconic eye
Jump
high
splits.
kicks.
Were you
Yeah.
able to do jump splits?
At 19, I could do it.
Oh, I just find it frightening to even watch people do jump splits. I'm very impressed. Okay, so you had, wait, that sounds like five auditions practically in this thing.
Yes, it was all day. It was an all day audition.
Ah,
And so at the end of the audition, I went to the back of the room to grab my bag, and the stage manager tapped me on my shoulder. He said, Jennifer, we're going to give you a call back. Bring your picture and resume and bring your tap shoes. So I ran home, I grabbed my picture and resume, grabbed my tap shoes, and a few days later, I was, back in the large rehearsal hall tapping and, doing the kicks, and there was one other black woman there. And
one.
still, I didn't know the history. I didn't know that they were looking for a black woman. So it was still very new to me.
You didn't know that you had no realization, obviously, that since 1925 they've been specifically saying, "Don't show up at our audition." You.
Yes. And
It's
even though there were black women over the years who auditioned timeless times over and over, thinking maybe this is the year, I give them credit and I stand on their shoulders for, cracking that ceiling and helping me open the doors for other black women to call themselves Radio City Rockettes.
wow, wow. So you go to the callback. So now we've had an all-day audition. Then they say you didn't even bring your stuff. So this you bring your stuff to the real audition.
Yes, I bring my stuff to the real audition, and I auditioned. We did a tap routine, jazz. We did the kicks, and it was just a simple thank you. If we need ladies, we'll call you. And whatever dancer does, you do your audition, you walk out, you leave it there because if you start ruminating about it, if you start thinking about it, it will drive you nuts. So I left it in the room. And about a month later, Violet called me and she asked if I wanted to do the Super Bowl 22 halftime
Ah,
show. I know. And it was my first big New York job. I had done like music videos and some modeling jobs. I was so nervous that I asked if I could call her back. I took a walk around the block. I know, I know. I took a walk around the block and I called her back and I accepted the job. But still, at that point, they didn't tell me that I would be the first Black dancer to be a Rockette. I learned about it on the 11 o'clock news a few days later.
ah,
The
you
local
learned about it at the
newscast,
11 o'clock news. I feel like this is terrifying. This whole thing.
a newscaster came on and said, Radio City has just hired their first Black dancer. And I said, huh. I wonder who that is. My mother called me. She said, Jennifer, is that you? And I said, nobody said anything. I don't know. Come to find out a few days later that they did call and tell me that I was the first Black woman, and they immediately threw me into media training.
Oh yeah, because because it'd be crazy. I mean, it's as you said, the leaving at the door as an actor, I've had to do that, and as a kid actor, it was like really, I was like, if you say think because they just this is they're very nice to you, it's you think, oh, I'm getting it, and there are times where people would say, how did your audition go last week? And I go, I'm sorry, which one? What? Because I would so
Yes.
forget about it. People, weren't you reading for some big thing? Oh, I was, but about 20 minutes after I got home, I forgot all about it because otherwise.
Yes.
And then
You
the
could
high
get
pressure
start
thing.
thinking,
And
yes.
yeah, you had to go for a walk around the block. Yeah, someone said you're gonna come do the Super Bowl halftime show. I mean, we just saw the most epic like Super Bowl halftime show ever.
Right.
Yeah, I would hyperventilate and go for a walk for a while before doing a Super Bowl show.
Yes.
Wow, wow. And you so you were young and clueless. You had no idea any of this was
I
going on. And then it's like, yeah, you may need media training because the entire world's gonna ask you about being the first Black Rockette.
Yes, and about the quote that Violet had mentioned in the New York Times in the early 1980s about having one or two black girls on the line would distract from the precision, which is the hallmark, of the Rockettes. So yes, and they did tell me that she was misquoted. 19 years old. Yeah, I was like, oh,
Sure.
yeah, newscasters asked me, and I was like, oh, well, she was misquoted. Yeah, and I still not knowing the history of the Rockettes and just being put in the spotlight like this. And I really took what they said at face value and I believed them. And it would take my 15-year tenure to really learn the history.
You had no idea what a really big deal it was. You were like, no,
Oh,
they're not racist. They just hired me. It must be okay. It's like, how
yes.
nuts. Because yeah, you were 19, you're like, what? I didn't even know I was going to an audition. Oh my God. So yeah, they were probably relieved that you didn't say anything terrible about them in the interview.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even though that, there were people in the organization and there were ladies on the line who made it clear that I was not welcome. There
Oh,
were, of course, people, ladies on the line and some people in the organization that did want me there. The one person that I do talk about is the woman who is head of PR for Radio City. And she pulled me aside right before the Super Bowl performance and she told me that nobody cares about me. Nobody cares about my story. I'm old news and I'm lucky to be there. And I believed her. And I believed
oh,
her.
no.
And also Radio City just wanted, I feel like they just wanted to tell the story. We hired a black woman, get off our backs,
And then we're good to
And
go.
so, yeah, yes, exactly, Allison. Exactly.
Oh, but no, see, that's awful because I was, hoping at least, okay, it's the 80s that the women on the line and the people who work there, once you got there, would go, well, it's about time. Thank God. Okay, pull up some tap shoes
Some
and let's,
did.
have a good time. So most of them
Some
did. They
did.
welcomed you. They were thrilled to see you. Okay. But there were still, even in that
Yeah.
time, there were people who were upset that you had been hired.
And across the country. There was mail that I received across the country that's saying that if I ever performed in the Christmas Spectacular, that they would never come see it, that I was ruining their family tradition.
Dancing in the Christmas Spectacular. Oh, yeah, it's mind-boggling
Yeah.
now. But we see people today who are this cuckoo. Who I suppose there's people who probably didn't know and are now going to say, I can't go see the Rockettes. I didn't know they had black women. Um, like, it's so weird. And to see that
Yeah.
this is happening in as late as the 80s, it's just it does boggle the mind. Um, did you eventually feel that most of the women in the Rockettes accepted you and were nice to you after a while?
The ladies that were ready for the line to be diverse and have more inclusivity, I really leaned into them to show me what it was like to be the best Rockette possible. I came in not knowing what precision dance was, so I had to learn
Mm,
how to learn the language, learn how to do the eye high kicks, break into three lines seamlessly. So
that
I was really, learning a lot besides like all the dance moves and the choreography. I really leaned into those ladies to show me how to do that job. So yes.
Oh, thank heavens. Okay, so that was and then the Super Bowl. Boom. You open with it's like, okay, let's start you with something small. Super Bowl halftime show. And what Chubby Checker was the musical guest.
Chubby Checker was the musical guest.
Oh, wow.
Radio City produced the halftime show, and the theme was it was
22.
in
So it was Super Bowl 22, was it?
1922.
22.
Yes, it was in 1988. So there were 44 Rockettes for 88 legs, 88 pianos on the field, and a piano has 88 keys. So it was all themed around 1988, and Chubby Checker was the headliner. And yeah, so right before halftime, they called places, but with all the timeouts and the flags, that with the half hour mark kept getting longer and longer. So my
Hmm.
nerves kept growing and growing. And I'll tell you, I was nervous before the show. But once the music started, I ran out onto the stage and I just felt like I was supposed to be there. I tapped and I twirled and I kicked, and it just felt like that was what I was waiting for my whole entire life. And just to have that being in that football stadium and having it televised, and my parents and my sister even flew to San Diego just to be
Oh,
with me in
yes.
spirit. It was just simply amazing.
Oh, yes. So your whole family got to be there for. Okay, yeah. If you're going to be in the Super Bowl, you want that. But it was apparently it was quite the Super Bowl as well. There was all sorts of stuff going on with the players, and it was a
Oh,
huge
yes.
historic news covered massive media event.
Absolutely. Doug Williams played for the Washington Redskins, which is now the Commanders. He made history as the first Black quarterback to win a Super Bowl. So history was being made all around that day.
Wow. So everything was
Yeah.
happening in one Super Bowl. Again, it's like, and we're having it again, the Super Bowl. It's like, it's just amazing. And you went on to Broadway shows. You won a Tony.
So after my tenure
How
with the
many people win a
Rockettes,
Tony? I don't know. You won a Tony.
it was amazing. From being watching The Wiz as a little girl, 9 and 10 years old, to actually performing on a Broadway show. And the, so we won the Tony in 2001, and we opened for the Tony Awards that year. The Tony Awards were being performed at Radio City, so I got to perform at Radio City as a Broadway performer and win a Tony for Best Revival of a Musical. It was just a full circle moment.
Wow. What 42nd Street? Which was that the
Yes,
yeah.
42nd Street, The Revival.
Which I think I went to the next revival of that. I can't remember how many times is it now? It's a good show. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't not have
it's a great
42nd Street.
show. Yeah.
You do it over and over and again. So, I mean, as you said, from going from watching The Wiz, could you imagine as a child when you first,
No,
how old were you when you first started dancing? Did you start as a tiny little girl when you were a dancer?
yes. So growing up, my parents had my sister and I always involved in some sort of after school activity, whether it was dancing or baton twirling, gymnastics, horseback riding. And I always just had a love of dancing. And it was actually my fourth grade teacher who came into the classroom one day and he said, "We're going to do an end of year recital, and I need 6 people to be the leads." And he picked me, the shyest and the quietest
No.
child in class. I just wanted to like melt in my chair when he was, looking around to pick people. So that required me to go to rehearsal before school and stay after. And that day of the performance, I walked out onto the stage. The curtain was down, again, full of nerves. The curtain went up, the music started, and it just felt so natural and felt like home. And that's when I really knew that I wanted to perform on stage. Even though I was shy in real life, the stage gave me life and gave me a way to shine, and I really wanted that. So fast forward to, years later after seeing The Wiz and my parents, fostering that belief, it was just simply amazing following my inner instincts.
And it's so funny to hear you say that you were shy, because obviously now, apparently not very shy. You've overcome this. And it's funny because people don't believe me when I say I was shy as a child. And people say, Tee, ha, ha, ha,
Mm,
yeah, right. And I said, no, I mean, that's when I was really little, I was very shy. And so it was very strange for me that got into acting. It was eventually when I took up stand-up comedy and was on stage by myself that suddenly, like, yes, this is great. And I literally worked directly to overcome my shyness so that I could perform.
yeah,
So it is weird. Sometimes the very shy people become the performers.
that's absolutely true. Absolutely.
But yeah, you've done a good job of overcoming it.
Yeah,
You
thank
don't
you.
seem terribly shy at all. So now when did you write the book, the Becoming Spectacular?
I wrote, I always had an idea of writing Becoming Spectacular, and I always wanted to document my Rockette journey. So I started writing about 2 years ago, and I found my agent, Johanna, at Writer's House, who really helped foster, that growth and all of the ideas. Um, and it took me so long because I learned that I didn't have to write just about my Rockette journey. I had so
Right.
much more to share about what I did retiring after was dancing. I had 2 small children. 42nd Street was closing, and auditioning does not pay for the bills. So I talk about my life after dancing, and I
Hmm.
also talk about my battle with colorectal cancer. I felt like I just had more to give, and I feel like the
Absolutely.
universe always is working in my favor, as it is everyone's. And just was the time that it was published in February of 2025.
Fantastic. Well, and that's another thing I saw at Harlan Survivor. You're a cancer survivor, and this is just incredible. And then you're out there reminding people that early detection is key. Now, when were you diagnosed with cancer? What happened?
I had just turned 50, and that was when routine colonoscopies were, and I knew something was off. And I
Mm.
thought, oh, maybe I'm allergic to dairy now. I'm 50, maybe I have a gluten allergy. And when I went to my doctor, I asked if I could be seen fairly soon. And she's like, oh, you're healthy. At that time, I had been vegetarian for like 25
Yeah.
years, exercising every day,
So
a
you're doing
former
everything right.
professional
You're
dancer.
totally you're exercise. You're a dancer, right? So why would
Yes,
you be sick? Yes.
yes. But still, I just knew something was wrong. I went for my colonoscopy and I was coming out of anesthesia, sipping on my orange juice. She comes in and she says, you have cancer and it looks like you have about 5 years to live.
No, just no in between. Just
No,
that.
cut to the chase. And I was ashamed and I was embarrassed. I was considered the healthy one in my family. So I didn't tell anyone for a month, and I was going to doctor's appointments, labs, MRIs, all in secret. And when I
No.
find, yeah, yeah. And when I finally came out to my parents and a few close friends, my family, I immediately changed doctors. I think everyone needs to feel comfortable with their doctors. Their doctor should take time and talk with them. You can ask a million questions and they should stay in the room and not feel hurried out. You have to have that connection with your doctor. And I found that at Sloan. And they immediately put me on chemotherapy treatments. And after 4 rounds, my doctors looked, to see how the chemo was, taking, if it was helping. And my surgeon and my oncologist walked back in the room and they said, Jennifer, what are you doing? They said the tissue is almost all clean. You can't even really tell where the tumor is.
Nice.
There's only a marker there. And I just said, I really took a hard look at my life. I was stressed out to a 20 when I was diagnosed. And I let some relationships go that were not serving me at all. I was just hanging on to them for frivolous reasons. I turned my back on situations and I really honed in on what is my purpose in life? What is my footprint? What legacy do I want to leave? And I really focused on that and changed my life around. And it took cancer for that to happen for
Wow.
me. But I'm happy that it did happen. So now I'm more focused. I can appreciate things more. But I'm here to tell you, you don't need cancer to do that. Anyone can
It's
hone
better
in.
if you don't have the cancer.
Yes, anyone can hone in, focus now, and really, dive into your life and look, what is your gift? Everybody has their own unique gift to give this world, their own special light. And if we can uncover that, we as the community will benefit and you will benefit.
Wow. So you're pushing, of course, for early detection. That thing is now you colonoscopies, they even do them earlier if they think your families are at your risk. They've got the colonoscopies where they can send you the box if you're very low risk, or you can go in. I've had two, three now. I forget, but I went right away as soon as I was eligible, and I've had. I think it's three. I can't remember, but it all went well. And that's the thing. But
Good.
I've gone. I've had friends where they've gone. I know people who make it a day and go with their friend and all get them done at the same time. I've heard it's like a thing now, and I put up pictures of it going for my colonoscopy. Um, it's they knock you out. I always tell people you kind of didn't know. Like my husband Bob when he had his first one, I came in. They're like he's waking up, and he's like, "No, I haven't had it. When do I?" It's like you're done. It's like it's yeah. He's just so yeah. You don't. The prep is the hard part. Um, Lock yourself in the
Right,
bathroom, bring a good book, and then get with your. But the actual thing itself, you're out like a light. It's fine.
right, right,
And
right.
it's worth it. It's worth it. Whatever you go through the day or Friday, it's completely worth it to find out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're finding colorectal cancer in younger and younger adults,
Mm,
and researchers don't know why. And they did drop the age for a
good,
colonoscopy
good,
to
good.
the age of 45 from 50.
5.
But if, yes, 45, and it's covered under most insurances now. And if you have family history, of course, my kids will have to go at 40. They may have to go sooner. So know your family history. And if you don't know about it, there are websites and people out there who can help. There's the Colorectal Cancer Alliance and the Colon Cancer Coalition, and they have a plethora of information.
And well, there's places too where if you say you don't have insurance, there are places that are offering services that can try to hook you up with low
Absolutely.
cost or free colonoscopies if you qualify.
Yes,
Okay, I would go.
absolutely. Yes, yes. And they can find those resources on those websites that I just mentioned also.
That's fantastic
Yeah,
because yeah, you have to go. And then people, they mostly, a lot of people I know don't want to go. They're they're afraid that something's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt. I was like, it's gonna hurt. No, when I had it,
yeah,
they've heard horror stories about the prep, which is just kind of a drag. But they often it's the embarrassment. It's that it's
yeah,
weird because it's oop, wrong part of the body. We can't talk about it's and people don't
yeah.
want to have a colonoscopy.
Right. It is a very difficult topic, and something, that's not easy to talk about, but we have to. We're talking about symptoms, we're talking about gas and being bloated, and those are just conversations that we have to save lives. I know the African American community is, more likely to get it and 20% more likely to die from it. And
Yikes. Okay, and that's
yeah.
something. Do people know that?
Yeah, underserved communities. We need to have these conversations. And like you said, Allison, it's about part of our bodies that we really aren't accustomed to talking to about. But it does save lives. It's this, colorectal cancer is preventable, it's beatable, it's curable if it's caught early.
Now,
And
if people in the African American communities, you said, are more likely to get colorectal cancer, more likely to die, are they getting tested less often? But are people getting colonoscopies as often?
Well, they're underserved communities, so
Again,
they don't have the education, they don't have the resources. Again, talking about it is not like something that is an easy conversation. So those are, part of the issues there.
but see, that's one of the things you're doing. I meant the many, many things. And I noticed that just even in the introduction in your book, and then the fact you've written a children's book, you you thank all the people, your teachers and everyone, as you said, people whose shoulders you stood on. You make a
Yeah.
big point of recognizing the people who helped you to where you are, and the fact that you were so influenced as a child to pursue your dreams and dance. And I take it that's why you wrote the children's book version.
Yes, absolutely. I'm not in this alone. I have a village, and I wrote my children's book because I knew at such a young age that dancing and the stage was going to be such a big part of my life. And was so fortunate to have my parents, foster that and nurture that. And I thought, if there's a child out there who has a dream to be an astronaut or a chef or a soccer player, to know that, if there's a challenge, you can overcome it, but just never let go of that dream, of that passion. And what I love most about this book is the last page, and I hope it's a question, and I hope it fosters a conversation between the parent and child or school teacher and her class about what those children love to do most in the world. And we can, um, groom that for the kids to like grow into like this beautiful thing that they want to do with it with their life.
I like that's very encouraging. And so you said, and you were to think that you were the shy person. Um, and well, what do you tell like young people? Obviously, this thing you're talking about to people. What do you tell young people who are actors or dancers in entertainment who are coming up? What would you kind of advice would you give them?
Study hard, know your practice, take classes, go to auditions. Never give up on that inner
Go to
fire.
auditions even when you don't know what it's for, or that you're the
Learn how
first
to
line
audition.
person
Yeah,
there.
learn your lines. um, but always listen to your inner voice. Always listen to that. And there are actors, there are dancers who have been in the business and then they become wig masters or they become stage managers or directors or choreographers. So you never know really where that path is going to lead, and you might find that extra passion. So just keep going and keep growing.
Well, because you said you retired from dancing officially. What
Hmm.
you said you had kids, you danced. So what were you do? What were you doing after that? What did you go to?
So I started working at Jazz at Lincoln Center.
Awesome.
I started working behind the scenes and just still working in the industry, but still, that was not really going to be productive for my lifestyle with two small kids and working late at night, sometimes until 2 in the morning and doing loadouts. So I got a 9 to 5 job just to put food on the table, clothes on their back, and keep a roof over their head.
Well, all good actors, we temp. My mother was queen of the temp agencies. I signed up with a temp agency at one point years ago. I temped, and apparently I was so good I got hired by the temp agency to train employees. So, they're like, "You want to work here?" So you find out often, with actors, we get, rightly so involved in their acting or dance or whatever performance we're doing or singing, we forget we may be good at other things. And we're not always told we're
Absolutely.
good at other things or even encouraged to be good at other things. And so I was pleased to know that I was actually good at other things.
Absolutely. Yes, so I learned that I was good at being on time, um, my work ethic, just being a Rockette, having, the precision, the dedication, just showing up and just like working as a team. So those are some of the things that actually I've taken with me throughout my whole life.
Well, that is a thing. Obviously, with dance, you do learn the hard work ethic and the dedication. And obviously, as a Rockette, we need, if you talk about all being on the same page, I get that you'd have to learn that. So, yeah, that's the skills that people don't realize how many different occupations you can sort of
Yeah.
transpose these skills to these skills. And I think, you talk about these kind of things in your book and in your children's book, I mean, to encourage people.
Absolutely. And I love doing school readings
Oh, good.
and yeah, and the kids and they're so attentive to the book. And when I talk with them afterwards, I love all the different themes that they can like pick up on. One of the themes is I'm tapping in the supermarket and a woman that works at the supermarket yells at me and they ask me if I still think about this woman in the supermarket that yelled. So it's very interesting with all the themes and about what they want to do with their lives and what their most favorite thing is, and I really enjoy it.
I can't believe someone tapping in the supermarket. I guess I was lucky no one yelled at me when I was very small, and I did take tap and ballet. I mean, not for very long. It was mostly because I was somewhat awkward as a child. I'd like starting to walk pigeon toed, and perhaps ballet will help. I did not become a great dancer, but I did learn to walk properly. And so I took ballet and tap, and I liked tap. And this was the early days of putting cameras in supermarkets. It was so early that it was considered
Oh,
a novelty, and they wanted you to see that they had cameras in the supermarket. Now they don't want you to. The camera, the screens are back in security. No, they
right.
had a monitor at the checkout at
Oh my
this market,
goodness.
West Hollywood. So there was a camera. I think it was just in the cheese aisle. It was a thing. We have one. They had one camera and they had a monitor at the checkout. So I took this as an invitation to perform. I mean, they put in closed circuit cameras. Clearly, I'd found a place, an audience, and I t tried out my tap routine in the cheese aisle. in order to be on the monitor at the checkout. And I did draw a crowd. Uh, people did come and go like, what is
I
that? What
love
is
it.
he doing? So but I was like, there's a television, to be drawn to the camera that early that there's a security camera with a monitor that I'm going. That kind of thing. And so yeah, I did that. I tapped in the supermarket. I was probably nowhere as good as I wasn't that good, but I tapped in the supermarket. And luckily, but I don't know what I'd done if someone yelled at me. Luckily, people were supportive. They thought I was weird, but they thought it was
The
cool that I tried.
the taps make the best sound on that
Dude,
linoleum floor, the best. So much so that my parents even got a piece of linoleum flooring and put it down in the basement. So when my father
yes.
was working down there, I could go down and tap, which I'm sure he loved.
I'm gonna attack it. But you're right, taps on linoleum. And I mean, I was one of those kids in dance, which I liked it because they gave you that lovely pink vinyl box with the picture of the ballerina on it to put your shoes in. That was
Yes.
pretty much what I got from
Yeah,
it.
oh my gosh, I
That
totally forgot about that. Yes.
I think that's mostly what I got out of dance class. I didn't really stick with it. Um, but it's just amazing the life and the career you have. And what do you say to young African American people today when we see what's going on, that there's been finally progress, but at the same time there is still such like bizarre levels of racism in modern times. I
Yeah.
mean, I was shocked that it was a big deal to have a black Rockette in 87, 88. I was like, really? This is not 1968, this is 1980. I was stunned. But when you look at even now, there's people now who would probably send hate mail to a black Rockette for being in the Christmas show. They'd be still walking
Yes.
around. And what is that? Why does anyone care? I what is going on? What do you say to
Yeah.
young people now about, since you have overcome all of this?
Right. Well, systemic racism is designed to resist progress, and resilience is designed to overcome it. So we have to be resilient constantly. Always believe in yourself, always go after your dreams. And unfortunately, there are still firsts, in this, day and age. But we have to keep going, and we have to break down these barriers and make, diversity and inclusivity, one that is streamlined, because we are all human. We are all the same. We all have feelings, emotions. So just being judged on the base of the color of your skin is very difficult, again, in this day and age. But just to keep going, believe in yourself, study hard. Education is definitely a necessity, and always go after whatever your passion is.
It sounds like to have like an internal gyroscope that you're leaning on things internally, because if you're too externally anything, people say externally attached or whatever it is, if you're too vulnerable to that everything of how you feel about yourself comes from outside, you're bound to lose, because there's always somebody's going to say something terrible to you for stupid reasons.
Yes. Exactly. So, and those are part of the challenges that come at us, that we have to form a resilience against, and really believe in ourselves and in our craft. Um, and like I said earlier, we all are special. And even though it looks like we're all doing the same thing, we are all on different paths. We all have a special gift to give the world. And as long as you know that, as long as you're working towards shining that gift and bringing it out to the world, that is the best you can do. And that's all you can do, is your best. And don't listen to the external voices that come in if they're negative. Of course, you want to lean into your family if they're behind you, and you want to have that soft place to land, but always go within.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, because, and as an actor, it's true. If you just listen to, I mean, there's famous stories of actors. What was it? Fred Astaire, I believe his the note he got on audition was something about can't act, can dance a little. And if Fred Astaire taken that seriously, where would we be? So yeah,
Right,
you
right.
cannot just take in all of the terrible things people say. And
Yeah.
with unfortunately the realities of racism and systemic racism, to have to be that strong, yeah, people are going to have to lean on themselves, as you said, and work from within.
Absolutely. And it was a process for me. Taking things in and going through challenges and some like the PR person, I took what she said about me, lucky to be there. I took that personally and I thought
Yeah,
she meant it. And I carried that through years of my
oh,
life. I thought that nobody cared. I
horrible
thought
thing
that
to
I
say to
was
someone.
lucky to be there. And it was like peeling back layers of an onion that I had to work through. And hopefully, I can use my voice so no one has to go through that. Don't let someone else's fears and not wanting you to succeed, get into your psyche and knowing where your place in the world wants to be and should be, and let your light shine. Um, yes, so I had to do a lot of work on
I mean,
myself to
what a
know.
thing to say to someone, but like, while they're at a show, like between acts, they're going to go on. It's the Super Bowl and you're doing, what a thing to say to someone. Like, why? Why? And you're the PR person. You're supposedly promoting them. So you
Right.
want
Well,
them to be good.
right. Well, I think another portion of that is that they wanted the black girl to fail, to say, "See,
Ugh,
we tried, and she
ugh,
couldn't do it." So I think that was the other half of that equation.
that's bonkers. And now I presume the Rockettes. Now there are multiple African American women, women of color in the Rockettes today.
Yes, the line is very diverse. It's very inclusive. So any family can go to the show, Asian, Indian, Black, white, and see a reflection of themselves, which, the Rockettes just celebrated their 100th year anniversary, and that is what they are promoting now. So, and in addition to that, they got rid of their height requirement and their
You
weight
got rid of the height
requirement.
requirement. Now, see, that sort of blows my mind. 'Cause I always said, oh, if I, when I was little, it's if I could dance, I could be, I'm not tall enough to be a rockette. I don't think at this point they're going to take me, but that's great to know that if you're just maybe a little bit, that you can be a rockette. You can be,
Yes. You can go to the boot camp. You can go to the Rockette boot camp over the summer.
do they make you wear higher heels or something?
No.
I guess you break it up. Well, if you did it by height and you put the tallest one in the middle, you could,
That's how it's done. It's actually an optical illusion.
nice.
Because the smallest girl is 5'5" at the time,
Huh.
and the tallest girl was 5'9.5", 5'10". So the little ladies would be on the end, and it would go by shoulder height to the tallest lady in the middle. So it looks like we're all the same height, but once if I'm standing next to someone who's 5'5", it's a noticeable difference. So that's just to say, it's a big height difference between the line. And when you do the eye high kicks, it's an optical illusion. You just kick to your eye height and it looks like they're all the same level. Yeah,
I
it's
like that. Okay, but
ingenious.
it's fat. But yeah, but if you put you next to someone who's like 5'7" and 5'6.5", and you yeah, okay, this all makes sense. Now, see, now I have to go buy tickets to the Rockettes again. I have to go to the Rockettes again and see all of this. This is this. I had no idea. I mean, that there's things you find out.
And it's so much so. So if you do go see the show, and you go and you see the parade of the wooden soldiers, the little girls are on the end, and when they do the big pinwheel across, they have to basically run around the stage while the tall girls in the middle are taking
Now
little
I
tiny
noticed that, yeah,
steps
because when
because
the big wheel goes, the people on the end are doing all the
they're
work.
they're the short girls. And the tall girls are taking these itty bitty tiny steps.
The
Yeah.
things you don't think of that if you don't. This has been absolutely. This is amazing. Okay, now what's the name of the children's book again?
The children's book is On the Line, My Story
On
of
the
Becoming
Line.
the First African American Rockette. Yes.
And the
And that,
memoir
yeah,
is becoming
is
spectacular.
the rhythm of resilience. And I
Rhythm of
also have
Resilience.
a dancing Jen doll
She
that
has a
I
doll. She
made
has a doll. Okay, yes. That's right. You have a doll.
as a tangible reminder for, especially for kids, that they can just like walk around and remember that thoughts become things, to always dream big, go after your dreams, don't let anyone stop you. So I just wanted, them to hold on to something. So I designed Dancing Jen, and you can get her at Walmart Marketplace.
And the books I did, they're on Amazon and fine stores near you, as I say, and you find it. And
Yes.
where can we find you? You would presumably have a website.
Yes, you can find me at Rockette Jen, Jenn, that's two N's.com. And you can find out more about me, about my books, colorectal cancer, about things that I have coming up.
Wow, that is a lot. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on my show. This has been fantastic.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to speak with you and to meet you.
Well, this has been great. See, Harlan is so good at these things. As I always, Harlan says, I think you should have this
Owen's the
person on.
best.
And I say, yes. And I knew this was going to be great. Thank you so much for coming on. And thank you all for watching the Allison Arngrim Show. And I'm Allison Arngrim.